Just passing through Gare heading to the sunny south of France, or at least this is what the pictures on the walls of the station would have you believe. Now arriving. Unfortunately, I feel that those pictures may have been a slight case of false advertising. You can see in Nimes there are no blue skies anywhere to be seen, and it's in fact been raining for several hours. Nimes is famous for its Roman ruins, including one of the best preserved Roman amphitheatres in the world, which you can see just ahead here, as well as a famous temple and several other monuments, which we'll see later. Nimes is part of the region of Occitania in France, which borders the Mediterranean, and in these narrow streets you can see influences similar to those you'd find in Spain and in Italy. The hotel we're staying in is called the Marquis de la Baume and belonged to one of Louis XIV's trusted servants. It has a most impressive stairwell, which I'll show you as we walk down, dating from the 17th century. Here you can see a poster for flamenco. This area has strong influences related to those of Spain, including bullfights. In Nimes it's hard to move without stumbling over Roman ruins, and here, about 5 minutes from the hotel, is the Door of Augustus. Here you can see two large entrances for vehicles, as this was one of the Roman gates into the city, and at the side two smaller entrances for pedestrians, and in the background a statue, a modern one, of the man himself. And a little round the corner from this medieval place of worship, we're going to come across Roman equivalent in the form of the Maison Caree. This is probably the best preserved Roman temple left in the world. The temple was dedicated not to a god, but to the Emperor Augustus's grandsons, who were meant to be his heirs. Unfortunately, they died tragically young. No expense was spared in the making of this temple, as you can see from the ornate Corinthian columns which dominate the building to this day. Although Augustus's adopted father Julius had fought extensive wars against the Gauls in what is now France, Augustus was keen to usher in an era of peace. He boasted that he found Rome of clay and left it of marble. That sentiment extended to the provinces too, as you can see here. Temples have many roles in its life since, including as a town museum at one point, but now it's largely been restored to its original state, and you can go inside and visit, although there's not much to see there. We're on our way to the Jardin de Fontaines, which is one of the first public gardens to open in Europe. You can see the gardens are supplied by a generous water supply in the form of this canal to the left, which drives the fountains and other water features to be found there. This large central water feature has a large amount of water at the bottom, which you can see. I imagine if they turned it on, that jets of water would shoot out of the central statue, but unfortunately it wasn't visible during our time here. In the corner of the park stands yet another Roman temple. This is the temple to Diana, the goddess of the hunt. Although the roof of this temple is in a much worse state than that of the Maison Caree, with a large chunk of it missing, you can see some of the interior features remain, including a niche at the top where perhaps a figure of the goddess stood originally. There's something slightly eerie about wandering around these ancient ruins, whose only permanent residents these days are the pigeons. And yet there's traces of beauty left in the patterns and the architecture which survive. Now we're heading up the hill in search of one last Roman ruin for the day.
Yeah.
At the top of this hill we'll get one of the best views out over the town. Nestled within the gardens, you'll be able to see in the distance the final monument, that is, the Great Tower. Built by Augustus Caesar at the start of the Roman Empire, the tower remains to this day nearly 30 meters tall and dominates the skyline. From the top you have some of the finest views out over the city of Nimes. Last stop on our trip in Nimes is the Ampitheatre. It's capable of accommodating 24,000 spectators and today plays host to concerts,
No,
but
they
back
must
in
have been
Roman
drunk
times,
from the sky.
gladiatorial
Yeah.
fights and battles against wild beasts took place. We're now in the depths of the amphitheatre where the animals and gladiators would have been led up the steps into the arena. When you get to the top you realise just how big this place is. In the Dark Ages, after the amphitheatre closed, it was a place for the townspeople to shelter, and the thick walls made it a useful fort. For many years after this, some people actually lived
Concerts and
within its
stuff.
walls. Once you get to the top of the amphitheatre, you have a great view out across the town, both outside the amphitheatre and from the very top of the interior.
Like the Emperor.
In the background there, you can see the cathedral.
Oh, what
Concludes the trip to Nimes. Stay tuned for more exciting adventures in the castle and capital of Barcelona.